So not too far back, I actually experimented with streaming gameplay of the Nintendo Switch to YouTube for the first time, really just as a test to see what that experience would be like, because I'd never really done any serious streaming before. And the weird thing is, one of the things that held me back from ever doing it was I assumed it would be this really complicated setup process because I'd heard so many horror stories about working with OBS or streaming software to get it set up. And it's not that I couldn't figure it out, probably, it's simply that I didn't really want to take the time to mess with the headache. I had other videos that I was working on, other things that I was busy doing. So the idea of trying to sort of work through a bunch of configuration options didn't sound like a great way to spend a Friday night. But then a friend of mine was like, what are you talking about? You don't need to have OBS if you just want to stream gameplay footage and capture your voice. You can do that with the Elgato capture card that you already have. So I actually came home after work and decided I would go ahead and stream for the first time to the channel just to try it out and see how it was using the HD60, my Blue Yeti mic, and the iMac that you actually see behind me. So that process of getting set up was actually really straightforward, so I figured I would go ahead and give you guys a quick tutorial of just how easy it is to get up and running and streaming for your YouTube channel if you want to capture gameplay footage from like your PlayStation 4 or your Xbox, or specifically what I wanted to talk about was the Switch, because I wasn't sure I'd be able to do it with the Switch because it didn't have native sort of Twitch or YouTube streaming functionality built in, but it was actually super easy to do so. And basically the tutorial, the instructions that I'm going to show you right now will also work, I'm pretty sure, for almost any HDMI output game device, be it the Xbox, PlayStation 4, or even like an SNES or NES Classic, if you will. So let's go ahead and take a look at how you can get up and running quickly, connecting your Switch to an Elgato, to a Mac or PC, and then getting that to YouTube in a way that is not going to, drive your followers crazy, and make sure that they can hear your voice and see your video properly. Step 1, make sure you're making the correct physical connections between the Switch to your capture card and then to your PC or Mac. While your Switch is in docked mode, you want to make sure that the HDMI output from the dock goes into the HDMI input on the Elgato HD60. Then you need another HDMI cable that goes out of the HD60 and goes into the monitor or the television that you actually want to play the game on. And the in-between connection, the thing that actually gets the video signal from your Switch to the computer, is the USB connection that is actually on the HD60, and it depends on the one you have. If you have the HD60, it's going to be a USB 2.0 connection. If you have an HD60S, which is more geared towards streaming anyways, that's going to have a USB 3.0 connection. And again, I already did a video about which capture cards might be right for you, and as you know, the HD60S is really great with latency so low that you could actually continue to play the game off of your computer monitor if you wanted to not even have a TV, because it's capturing it so quickly. So after you've got the HDMI going from the Nintendo Switch into the Elgato, from the Elgato to your TV, and a USB connection from the Elgato into your PC or Mac, at that point let's go ahead and take a look at the software so you know what settings you have to have in place to make sure that you can get this thing to your YouTube channel. After you're sure your connections are in place, now it's time to make sure that you have the software installed on your computer and ready to run. But the Elgato HD game capture software is available for Windows and for Mac, so depending on whatever platform you use to make your capture, you should be able to find software to suit either environment. Once you're actually in the software, you'll want to expand the live streaming tab here on the right, and if you don't already have an account defined, then you'll want to go ahead and click that plus button there. And once you're inside here, you can define which service you want to connect to, whether that's Twitch or YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and choose YouTube, and we're going to go ahead and put the channel in there and the details to get logged in. So after you've set up your account in the Elgato software, now you want to start sort of optimizing things to make sure that the game audio, your voice, and also the video looks good for your audience who's watching your stream. And for that, you're going to want to make adjustments here. As you can see, you can sort of make adjustments here and bump this up or down, and you want to make sure you have this right, because if you're not careful, you'll end up streaming in 480, and that will probably irritate a lot of your viewers. So go ahead and bump this up to a level that you're comfortable with and one that your upload stream can actually support based on your internet connection. When I did my first test, I basically did 720p at 30 frames per second. I probably could have gone 1080, but I didn't want to tax it on my first test out of the gate. But if you just do a little bit of experimentation here and there, and if you make it clear on your stream, like, hey, this is a test stream, I'm just trying to get my settings right so I can maybe continue to do this in the future, your viewers should understand. The other thing you'll want to do is make sure that you have a microphone attached Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm not actually going to show you how to do a webcam and set up OBS and overlays and all that stuff, because that would be another video entirely on its own. Rather, I just want to show you a way that you could basically get your video game footage to your audience on YouTube for streaming, and so you could basically add commentary to that. So this is not about video. I'm only going to show you how to do audio today. Maybe in a future video, once I have figured out how to do that in a way that doesn't look horrible, then I will make a video about how to set up OBS settings on the Mac, for example. But for today, we're just going to talk about adding audio commentary to your stream whenever you're playing your Nintendo Switch. And really the biggest thing is you want to make sure that the live commentary button is on, and you'll also want to look at your live commentary section here to, one, make sure you have the correct audio input chosen. So if you're using an external mic, you want to make sure it doesn't accidentally pick up the internal mic if you're trying to, improve the quality of your voice on the stream. But then secondarily, you want to play with the levels here a little bit and make sure that it's not going to be too loud or too soft. And again, your microphone, if you're using an external microphone, may have its own gain setting physically on the microphone itself, like the Yeti does. So you'll want to check there too and sort of play with those settings until you get it right, and then you've got a good mix of the game's audio versus your audio. And personally, the way I see it is you should err on the side of making sure your voice can be heard over the game audio. It's not that you want to drown out the game audio entirely. People still want to get a feel for the atmosphere that's being built by the game, but at the same time, if you're trying to establish a dialogue with the people that are watching your stream and stay in regular communication with them and engage them, you don't want them to have trouble hearing what you're trying to say, over the game audio, for example. So you're going to want to play with those levels a little bit and make sure that everything's in sort of a nice equilibrium, probably with the game audio a little bit lower than your own audio so nobody has trouble understanding you. The other thing to remember before you start that stream button is you want to make sure your privacy is set to public. I actually messed this up and had to change it to public within the YouTube interface, so I didn't realize you could do it from here. But if it's private, then you'll start streaming, but you're not going to actually be able to alert anybody that you're streaming. No one's going to be able to come and see your stream, so make sure you've got that guy set to public. Alright, so that was just a quick tutorial of how you can actually get yourself set up for streaming and have some audio commentary over it. And again, I'm not trying to set up a webcam and overlays and do all that stuff just yet. Really, I just wanted to talk about how to, if you just want to experiment with streaming and sort of get your stuff out there, this is just sort of a quick look at the settings that you'll have to adjust on the Elgato to make sure that you're getting the best stream quality, that your audio looks good, that your video looks good, and that you've got a way to communicate with your followers through the live commentary feature on the Elgato software. Now, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. If you have questions about Twitch, I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer them, but if you have questions about YouTube or the Elgato software, or if you're running into a certain problem, please feel free to let me know, and I'll certainly offer whatever advice or feedback I can to try to help you out with that. And, if you have a stream and you want me to come check it out, would be happy to do it. I mean, as long as I'm not, like, sleeping or, stuck at work or something like that, if you're going to be streaming at a certain point and you want me to pop in, happy to do it. Just leave me a comment and, a link to your channel below. I would be happy to jump in and take a look and, give you any feedback about your own audio and video settings if you want, sort of a third-party perspective, or you just want to do some testing or anything like that. Also, before we wrap this up, huge shout out to Switchcraft and also to Die Hard Gamer Bros. They actually showed up in my stream and kind of helped me along and in testing, make sure my own audio and video is good. So I would not have felt comfortable making this video unless I'd sort of gotten those settings right, and I couldn't have done it without their help. And to anybody else who dropped in on that first test stream, thank you. I'm probably forgetting names right now, and I apologize, but it was a very cool experience to know that I sort of just tried this test stream, was not expecting anybody to come on it, and then actually I think 5 or 6 people showed up. So it was a very cool experience, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And that's actually why I decided to keep streaming, was just because there were people that were willing to come out. So if you've been on the fence about streaming yourself and the thing that's in your way is not a technical problem, but rather you're like, will anybody come check out my stream? What if it's no good? Blah, blah. Don't worry about all that stuff. Just go ahead and stream anyways for the enjoyment of the process. And again, if you need any feedback, let me know. I'll be happy to give you that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we will see you on the next one later.